my friends. Well, today we're going to talk about relationships, kind of like intimate relationships, and how to deal with difficult situations and hopefully make the relationship stronger. And while we do that, I am going to make some dinner, and I'll show you what I make. So I'll pop this little thing open here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this potato. Potatoes are really good for you. Much better than rice. Pasta is good for you too, but I'm trying to eat less rice and more things like potatoes, oatmeal, stuff like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this potato, cut it up into little bits, and I'm going to add it to this Moroccan style chickpea soup. Extreme close up. I actually bought this at the dollar store for a good $1.25, but it's actually good quality. I've had it before. So I'm going to try to walk and talk and chew gum at the same time here. Okay, so relationships. Let's start by saying that I was in a relationship for actually more than 19 years. 19 years. I was married for 19 years, and I tried really hard, and I learned a lot of these things while going through the relationship. So I do speak from experience, but ultimately my marriage failed. So I guess what I'm saying is take it with a grain of salt, everything I'm about to say. So in relationships, one of the first things is to remember that communication is critical. A relationship, think of it like kind of like an hourglass, and every time something goes wrong and it's not dealt with, it's kind of like these little tiny problems build up, and over time that hourglass will get full, and perhaps the time of the relationship is up. So these little small things, these little grains of sand, make a difference, a big, huge difference. And it might not be something so terrible as like someone had an affair on the other person. It could just be a series of these small problems that build up and build up, like grains of sand in an hourglass, and over time those become insurmountable, and you're like, just so many little problems that the relationship is doomed. So really you need to discuss the problems and not just sweep them under the rug. Don't pretend they're not there. You have to deal with the problems. Communication is absolutely critical. There's some dark spots on my potato. Look at that dark spot. Cut it off. So another thing is, sometimes this happens where one person is like kind of like doing most of the work in the relationship, be it they carry the financial responsibility, they go out, make the money, and the other person stays at home and plays video games or doesn't do much. Now, if you're looking after kids at home, that's a completely different story, because that is, to me, just as difficult as any day job. You know, raising kids is tough, and so I value those equally, in my opinion. A mother or a father that stays home and looks after the kids is just as important as the person who goes out and does the work. However, if, for example, one person stays at home and doesn't do much, and the other person makes the money, and then comes home and does the housework, what ends up happening is the person doing more work begins to resent the other person and resent what's happening because for some reason they're able to do less, and that's not equal. So when resentment happens, there's kind of like a loss of respect, and if you don't respect the person you're in a relationship with, you got big problems. So yes, really important that each person pull their equal weight, and how you decide what the equal weight is, that's up to the individual. Every person, every couple might have their own ideas, but generally speaking, I think there's some things that are going to be really easy to notice if they're equal or not equal. Like one person staying at home playing video games, the other person works, or whatever it might be, surfing the internet, doing whatever they might do instead of contributing. Gotta cut these small so they cook fast. Now, here's the thing. I'm going to make sure that this potato, I tried to buy a medium, kind of large size, but not too big. Because if I make it too big, then it's going to take all the space in the pot, and I'm not going to have enough room for the soup. So, let's see what happens. Another aspect of a relationship and how to make it stronger, better, or things of that nature, is to accept differences. You have to, both people in the relationship have to regard each opinion as valid. If one person thinks that their way is the right way and the other person's opinion doesn't matter as much, that's a big problem. Again, it comes down to resentment, and you have to expect that each person has equal validity in terms of their opinions. There are more than one way to do things, and if one person gets their way all the time, that is not going to make for a healthy relationship. So you have to validate each other's opinions and realize that there's more than one way of doing things, and accept the differences. One person may have a certain way of doing things, making dinner, for example, whatever it is. These minor things, they sound minor, but they become more noteworthy or meaningful in the large picture. It comes back to these little grains in the hourglass again. So you need to accept differences. Another thing is, in terms of communication, is when you're requesting something or you're trying to get someone to understand point of view, or you're asking them to do a chore or something, the way that you state what you're saying has a huge impact on the way it's perceived. So it's kind of like the delivery of the message is almost as important as the message of it itself. So for example, if you say, when you get a sec, could you maybe, at your convenience, find the time to empty the garbage? I'd really appreciate it. Thank you very much. Versus, hey, you know what? It's time to empty the garbage. You're so lazy. Get it done right now. Well, which one do you think is going to be more problematic? Well, obviously the second one. You're basically stating the same thing. You need the garbage emptied. But the one of them is kind of trying to use diplomatic language and couch it in terms where you're getting your opinion across, or what's something that you need to have done across, but you're doing it in a way that is loving. And obviously if you call someone lazy, that's an insult, so we don't want to be doing that. I've never accepted any insults, and certainly I would never allow another person to swear at me or insult me. If I was in a relationship with someone, those things are unacceptable to me. Someone who loves you does not swear at you, or if they do, they got some issues, in my opinion, and you might want to reconsider being in a relationship with that person. I wouldn't. It's just a matter of self-respect. If you allow someone to talk to you like that, that's not giving yourself respect. Okay, something else to consider. Each person needs to be equally committed as much as possible. I mean, it's hard to make things equal, of course, in all manners and ways, but each person should be as much as possible equally committed to the relationship. If one person's doing all the work and the other person is just like, whatever, it's not gonna work. And again, there could be resentment, and there could be like, you're just beating your head against a wall if the other person's not even trying, or trying but not to the degree that it matters, not in a significant way. So each person needs to be equally committed to making the relationship work and having strategies or thinking of things to make things better. Relationships are a lot of work. I mean, there's a reason why I'm single right now. I mean, I wouldn't say no if the right person came along, but right now it's been 3.5 years, and I'm okay being single. Anyway, off topic. Another thing to consider is arguments. I have not known many couples that never argue. Most of them do. However, if you argue constantly, I'm not sure that that's a healthy style for the relationship to be in, or it's a healthy way to have things be. But arguments are essentially inevitable. So there's a couple things you can do if there's an argument. Number one, if someone is angry, it's proven that when you get angry, your intelligence actually goes down. So it's best not to try to solve a problem if somebody's angry, like really angry. It's better just to say, okay, I can see you're angry right now. Let's take a break and come back to this later today or tomorrow, whenever you guys decide it's best for you. So, you don't want to try to reason with someone or try to rationalize something when somebody's angry, because they're just it's not gonna go well. That's for sure. You got to take a break, come back later when people have clear minds and level heads, and you can try to make a rational decision. There we go, potatoes are cooked just like I thought. It took the majority of the pot. So now I'm going to add some water. Try to put this on the screen here and get these cooking. And no, I didn't wash my potato. I hope you can find it in your heart to forgive me. Maybe I should add a bit more water. Actually, no, I don't want to add more water. As long as the tops are covered, that's all that counts. So while that's doing its business, I will clean my potato peeler and my knife and my cutting board. All I use, 100% straight vinegar. Which isn't coming out. Spray that cutting board. Another thing that's important in a relationship, especially if you're like living in a van or RV, is you need to have your own life. If each person is so intertwined, I don't know, I don't think that's healthy. Now some people, they don't really ever separate, and they're doing things together all the time. I'm not so sure that that's the greatest thing. I mean, I guess it depends on the personality, but I think there's something to be said for having some distance apart so that when you come together, you appreciate each other more. If you're with each other all the time, you might get on each other's nerves a little bit. Um, so it's good to have some distance. Now, it's up to the relation. Every relationship is different because each person in a relationship is different, and each person itself is different. So, of course, all these things depend on the people involved. Oh, the water's gonna boil over. Got some food cooking now, folks. Take my fork, stick it in. See if I have any tender potatoes yet. Nope. Alright, guys. Dinner is ready. See it? Gonna just tilt it without it dumping. There you go. Potatoes, chickpeas, carrots, lots of good stuff. Thanks for watching, and be well, my friends.
Mama warned you not to shake, and love's the best sensation, hiding in the lion's mane.